Hi there, and welcome to my first book review. I have actually, that's not entirely true, because I have actually done a previous book review on this channel, and it was for, I think, Nalini Singh's Heart of Obsidian. And I just love that book so much I wanted to rave about it, and so I made a video and raved about it. And I wasn't consciously thinking that I would do book reviews or video book reviews, but now that I'm doing a few different things on my channel, I thought that book reviews would be a good thing to do because I love books, I read a lot, and so, unless I stop reading, chances are I'll have a fair bit of content to talk about. I have a few things I want to say before I get into my first book review, and it is that I tend to be a very tough judger of books, and I am a tough scorer. So you know how on Goodreads you have 1 to 5 stars. Most of my books are 3 or 4 stars, and there are very, very few 5-star books. I think so far this year I might have given 3 books 5 stars, maybe 4 books 5 stars. I'm not sure, I haven't really checked, but there are a lot of 4-star books and there are a lot of 3-star books. And to me, a 3-star book is great, a 4-star book is great. Well, actually, it's sort of like a 3-star book is good and I really enjoyed it. And if this author wrote another book, I'll buy it and I'll read another one of their work. A 4-star book is, to me, a great book. Really well written, really enjoyable. I couldn't put it down and I kept reading and I want to read some more. A 5-star book for me has to be incredibly well written. It has to be absolutely breathtaking to the extent that, sometimes I might have to just put the book down and draw breath because it's just so intense and it's so gripping and it's so amazing. And it also has to be a book that I would want to go back to over and over again, and I would read more than once. And that's a tough call because there are so many books out there, and I have so many books queued up in my to be read pile that I just, there's just too many books and not enough time. And I read a lot. I would read anywhere between 10 to 15 books a month, which I think is a reasonable number of books. I set myself a goal of reading 100 books a year. Most years I exceed it, and I read about 120 to 130 books, which I think is a pretty good effort for me, especially when I was working full-time as well. Granted, the books vary in length from novellas, which are about 100 pages, to full-length books, which is anywhere between 300 to 500 pages. And obviously, the longer the book, the longer it takes for me to read it. I don't write a lot of book reviews because I am not terribly good at it. I don't think I'm terribly good at it, and I just don't do it very often. But I am part of a street team. And for this group of authors in the street team, there are 8 of them, I read the books the authors send me and I write reviews for them, and I put the reviews up on Goodreads and Amazon. And this is the only street team I'm on. This is the only street team that I will be on because it's just a huge commitment and life gets busy. And the most I can do for them is 1, maybe 2 books a month for a book review. And I find that writing a book review is actually harder than if I were to sit down here and talk to you about a book that I've just read and just ramble on. And I can easily ramble on for 2 or 3 minutes about a book if I've enjoyed the book, or even if they were okay. And I find that my book reviews tend to be not your normal book review because I talk about the characters and I talk about things that work for me and don't work for me. And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that I edit, as a day job, and I proofread and I do beta reading and I also judge writing contests. And so I think sometimes my perspective on books can be a little bit skewed. And I always find that, like, if I've come out of a round of judging, I'm really tough on the books that I read, and they get really, I'm not saying low scores when I rate them on Goodreads, but I'm tougher on them and I expect more from a book. So, you know, I tend to be reluctant to review books in writing on Amazon. But what the heck, I'm putting myself out there. I want to do book reviews as videos, and I just want to have fun doing it. And I want to talk about books that I've enjoyed. And I also want to talk about books that have been just okay, and books that I have not enjoyed as much, or even books that have been sometimes a disappointment. I rank books that are 1 star if the writing is terrible, if I can't finish it, and if it's just doesn't work for me. A 2-star book for me would be something that is okay. I may or may not finish it. If I finish it and I struggle to finish it, it gets 2 stars. If the writing is good, but I can't finish it for some reason, the characters, the plot, the story, it gets 2 stars. Because, you know, I'm not going to rate a book 1 star just because I can't finish it. And I understand how much effort and how hard it is for a writer to write a book. And it can be disappointing for them to see a 1-star review. And I really, you know, if I can help it, I really would not leave a 1-star review. I really do try not to, because it's gut-wrenching. And my mom always told me, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything. So that tends to be the route I take. But I like to track my reading on Goodreads, so I will give it a rating so I can track my reading on Goodreads. So now I have just spent the last 7 minutes blathering on about my reading and book reviews in general, and I haven't actually done a book review. And this video has gone on long enough, so I think I will just call this an introduction to my book reviews, and I will leave the video at this. And then I'm going to film the book review that I had originally intended to film next. Oh, and by the way, I read everything on my iPad on the Kindle app. So I buy all my books through Amazon. And I also buy some books through All Romance, is it? All Romance books? All Romance something. And Smashwords. And then I normally get the Mobi version, which I then load into my Kindle app to read on my Kindle app. So that's predominantly where I read from. I do have an old Kindle 3, a keyboard Kindle. It's fantastic, but I haven't touched it in years. And so I mostly just read on my iPad. And I like the fact that I can read it in bed in the dark, and it works really, really well. The only problem is the battery doesn't last as long as a regular Kindle, so I do have to plug it in and charge it every now and then. Is there anything else I want to say about book reviews? I should tell you the types of books I read, and then I'll shut up, and then that'll be the end of this video. I read romance. I predominantly read romance. I read some thrillers and some action books. Vince Flynn is a favorite when it comes to political thrillers, but I'm so sad that, you know, he died very young of, I think, prostate cancer, and there won't be any more books of his coming out because it's just sad. He's a fantastic writer. But predominantly I read romance. I read romance in almost all of its subgenres: paranormal, historical, Regency, contemporary, romantic, suspense, category, etc., etc., etc. Yes, and I do read erotic romance. I do like sex in my stories. I don't read erotica, which is different from erotic romance, and I'm not going to go into any length of description of why they're different or how they're different. If you do want to hear about that, that can be another video. Leave me a comment down below and I'll be happy to film that. And I don't read chick lit or women's fiction. I find them annoying. so I don't read them. So predominantly I read romance and I like happy endings. And that's the reason I read romance, because I like a happy ending. I do also read some fantasy, like straight fantasy, but I don't read as much of that anymore, and science fiction. But I will read a fantasy romance and a science fiction romance and, you know, things like that, because I like a happy ending. And that's all there is to it. So most of the books you'll find me reviewing on here will be romances. And if you're looking for reviews of other types of books, then it won't be here with me. So that's it. I think I've said enough. I will see you in my next video. If you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe. And stay tuned for my sort of first, actually second book review on this channel. Thanks for watching. Bye!